right, race fans, Ryan Aho here, and the one and only Bert Lehman. Bert, how the heck you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. It's Bristol week, so I've been trying to. We'll get into this later on in the show, but I've been trying to watch as much as I can because there's a lot of Eastern Wisconsin drivers there. So I'm trying to stay on top of things there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit because you know a lot more people there than I do, even because there's really not a lot of Minnesota guys down there. But hey, it's episode 71A, baby. That's 71, right? That's my number, 71A. So,
Oh, that I was what
ever.
I was wondering where the A came from, but now I understand.
Well, the A came from, well, that's a difference of opinion, right? It depends on who you talk to on where the A came from. But back when I raced, there was a pile of cars. You know, there was less classes, right? And way more cars per class. So, like, a lot of times I'd go down to Cedar Lake, even for like a regular show, there'd be 40, 50 supers. You go to a special, there's 100. Chances are there's at least 2 or 3 of drivers in the same number. I just, after my first year in supers, I'm like, I don't want to just duct tape an X on there or whatever. I'm just going to go with the A, and that's where it kind of came from. So we had 71A pretty much every year I raced, except for a couple of years I drove for somebody else. So you talk to other people, they're like, I know what that A stands for. And I'm like, come on now. So actually, so we got Outlaw Graphics here, right? New sponsor of the show. And they actually have buyraceshirts.com. So any race car drivers out there, if you're on a budget or if you want to buy a ton of them, they have kind of everything there to fit your needs. Check that out, buyraceshirts.com. T-shirts by a racer, for racers. So take a look at that. We were talking there, Bert, yesterday, you know, about drivers having shirts. And myself, I'm like, I never really cared to make much. I wasn't Scott Bloomquist, so I wasn't going to make, you know, 50 grand a year on T-shirt sales. I'm like, it's just kind of cool when you see people with your shirt on. And lo and behold, at Bristol, one of my old pit guys' texts was down there, and I saw a picture of him sporting the old 71A shirt on there. So I'm like, they're still around. It's been a while, but they're still around. So I thought that was pretty cool. But hey, we had some racing last week, and, you know, to start out, there was supposed to be a race that had a ton of Wissota guys at it. They were going to have the battle at the Bull Ring in Humboldt. Of course, that got canceled due to rain. That's been pushed back a couple weeks. They got the King of America USMTS deal, and they're going to have the King of America and the battle at the Bull Ring kind of running together. So a couple weeks from now, that's going to be a big show down there in Humboldt. But let's start off with some open wheel. Let's start off with some buggies. You know, Keith, this is for you. We're going to start with the wing sprints, right? And I don't know how to say it. I really don't. But the racing for the sprint cars was a little bit more exciting than the late models yet again. So I'm kind of getting transitioned over. Did you get a chance there, Bert, to watch the sprint car action for the World of Outlaws this past weekend?
I watched the highlights of the features that the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series puts on YouTube. So they cut out you know, the cautions and all of that stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. Every race this year, I think, for the sprint cars has been exciting. Lots of passing, and we've talked about this before, but the announcer makes it even more exciting than what the action on the track may be. And but I mean, this leads to a question, and you may have to ask our sprint car experts on this. As I was watching the highlights, and I'm thinking of a late model race, you know, because they race a lot on the same tracks even. Do the sprint cars ever have a lockdown rubber up track where it's one lane?
It's rare. It's rare. I mean, they had that one last year. I don't remember where that one was at. Maybe it was at Huset's, I think, where like everybody blew their right rear tires off that thing, but it's extremely rare. And I think it's because things are so light and dicey that even though they got the big fat tires, they really aren't searching for traction. They're just chucking sliders, and they're just, I mean, they move around the racetrack a whole lot better than a late model. A late model, you know, I've seen some awesome racing, of course, with the late models, but it tends to get one lane a little bit more often with the late models. So the track prep guy they got to bring their A game, and it can be a complete marbly disaster with the sprint cars, and they're just chucking sliders and going all over the place. So I think there's that. And in honesty, Bert, I think part of it is the late model guys. You know, Keith, I'm sorry, right? But the late model guys maybe are a little smarter, right? There's more technology in them cars. So they get their cars where there's traction and they know where to be on the racetrack. And the sprint car guys, maybe they just don't even know where to be. They just balls to the walls wide open, hit them in the head with a hammer. They go full throttle and they just make it work. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been to late model shows where, you know, the late model feature has locked down, but then the support classes come out, race their features, and they're racing 2-3 wide. But, you know, I've always been told that that's because of the difference in the tires, you know, the late model tires. But the sprint cars have really nice tires too. But maybe it does have something to do with how much they weigh and just, you know, the sheer ratio of speed to tires and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's some variables there. I mean, the suspension in a late model, they hook up a lot better. So, you know, the variance between like in the right group and not in the right group is huge. But I tell you, I think that's why I like the sprint cars better sometimes, because they're not all stuck in one line. I mean, a couple weeks back at East Bay, right? It was Aaron Reitzel, the cushion's like 2/3 of the way up the track. He's like, and traditionally, a late model guy, mod guy, most people would be like, well, you're going to put your right rear on that cushion and go. And he's like, screw that. It's like a curb up there. If you hit it wrong, you're shoving the nose. I'm just going to go above that and make something happen. And I've seen that with the modifieds. I remember Steve Arpin doing that at Cedar Lake quite a few years ago. So maybe that's just that open wheel mentality where they're kind of all over the racetrack making it happen. But not a knock on the late model guys, you know, but the fact is, I'm kind of getting maybe a little bit moved over a little further to that sprint car deal. I don't know. We'll see. So that, speaking of the race, so Friday night they were over. This was a rescheduled deal because they had weather down south a couple weeks back. They were at the Magnolia, Mississippi, and what a race! About halfway through the race, a little bit over halfway, Sheldon Hodenschild and Logan Schuchart were kind of battling. Schuchart looked like he had it, and all of a sudden here comes Sheldon charging, and he's that checkers or records guy. Something exciting is going to happen. They swapped sliders a little bit. He drove off to his first win of the year, so that was a great battle. And if you missed it, jump on either Dirt Vision and watch the whole replay. Go to World of Outlaws on Facebook or on YouTube, and you can kind of watch the replay. And just an awesome race. And then Saturday night, they were at the Rev, Monroe, Louisiana, and another great race. I mean, they were side by side. David Gravel outdueled Brad Sweet, the big cat, and Gravel got his first win. And Bert, what's interesting to me, kind of like Speed Weeks in Florida, right? It's like, is there going to be a repeat winner at any point in time here, right? I mean, what's going to happen? 6 winners in the World of Outlaws in 6 races to start the season. And I kind of saw that. We talked about that before the season coming in. Like, the sprint cars were pretty exciting. And it's kind of like back in the day when there was like a whole bunch of them. You had, you know, there were several that were fun to watch. And it's kind of gotten back to that. So I'm pretty excited for the World of Outlaws sprint car season. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. You know, it seems like there is a different driver every race winning. But one thing I did notice over the last couple of races especially is a name that we haven't talked about really a lot in sprint cars is Casey Kane's been running near the front. And, you know, we hear Casey Kane as car owner, but you don't necessarily think of him as a driver in the sprint car series. But he's been running near the front the last few races. So, you know, that's good to see, you know, somebody who was at the upper echelon in NASCAR who kind of faded a bit in NASCAR, but he's back to his roots where he learned the race, and it's good to see.
Maybe we'll see shots in Casey Kane win this weekend. We'll have 2 more. It'll be great, right? So I guess time will tell. We'll get into the upcoming stuff here in a little bit. But that was kind of it for the sprint car world. Lots of late model shows and lots, you know, got kind of crazy. There was a little craziness, some drama, some good racing. There was some racing. I'm like, well, that was terrible. A little bit. But let's start over at the Comp Cam series. They opened up down at Boot Hill. They ran Friday and Saturday, and Friday the race to me wasn't. I mean, you can tell me what your thought. Logan Martin won night number 1, and it wasn't all that terribly exciting. What did you see night one at Boot Hill?
Actually, I didn't watch night one. I just watched night two. I watched that one live actually, and saw the drama.
There was, and Bert, go ahead. Why don't you just tell the viewers here what you saw, kind of what happened there, because it was drama, and then we're going to weigh in on that because I may have gotten into a little bit of a heated dispute right there on Facebook with some dude I don't even know, right? Kind of feel like some guys talking politics.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just kind of keep my opinion to myself. That's not true.
But yeah, I mean, there were some good drivers at that race. Both Moyers were there. Cade Dillard, Timothy Culp, he was the one who was leading most of the race. Well, Billy Moyer Jr. Was fast, but he was all over the place, and then he eventually fell back. But Billy Moyer was running second, and I think it was about half. They were a little past halfway.
There was 22 laps to go.
Yeah. And coming off of four, I mean, Culp was running the bottom and Moyer went high. And in the middle of the front stretch, I mean, Moyer just drilled the rear of Culp, spun him out, blew his rear tire out. They both went spinning, kind of came to a rest next to each other. And then I think they had a stare down for a little bit. And Moyer tried to move, and then Culp would gun it, try to block them. And, they're playing hide and seek a little bit. But I mean, my initial reaction was, what was he thinking? Because I put all the blame on him after I saw it initially. After I watched the replays, I still think it was his fault. I mean, I saw on Facebook too. I don't know if this is the same thread that you were commenting on, but some of the comments were, well, you can't be blocking and this and that. But I mean, I never raced late models before. So, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, why didn't this guy do that? But from the time I've been around racing, a lot of cars, you race on the low side, but you're going to drift up in the middle of the straightaway. I mean, you don't stay on the bottom of the track through the straightaway. Your momentum's going to push you out unless there's somebody behind or next to you, and then you compensate for that. But Moyer was not next to him. He didn't even have his nose next to him. And if you watch the replay where he hit him, I mean, he hit him square in the tail. And so I think what happened was Moyer saw a lane there, and he just went for it, but the lane closed real fast.
Yeah, here's so Cade Dillard inherited the win because they, I think Moyer, they put him to the back, and then Culp, he got a flat, he goes in, he comes back out, and he's arguing, he's trying to get his spot back. It's like, dude, you changed your tire. I mean, yeah, you got ran into, it wasn't your fault, but I don't care what rule it is. You go in the pits, you go to the back. I mean,
we've argued about the no fault spin rule and that sort of thing, but there's no way you're getting your spot back if you change a tire.
No, I haven't seen it, I guess, I mean, and if it is, it's been a mistake or something, but yeah, so I don't know what he was thinking there, but yeah, you're right, and that track, right, is like a paper clip deal. So it's got fairly long straightaways, but it's fairly narrow, kind of tighter corners. So when you're running the bottom there, you have to arc it out. I remember watching Darrell Nelson for years up in Duluth, he's from Hermantown, but at Proctor, no matter where he ran, his right side tires will often go off the back straightaway. Like he kind of created his own line so he could arc it in however he wanted getting into 3. He did that for years. And watching that entire race, watching Timothy Culp, he wasn't real smooth. He bobbled, he slid up a few times. He was not, I mean, he was going to lose the race. He wasn't going to win. Moyer, if he had any patience, which he always has, should have drove right by him, But I guess watching that race, when he was running the bottom, he kind of ran the same line every lap on the bottom of the corners, arced it out, rolled back in. That's the line he was running. And that's the line you have to run because, I put on the thread, I'm like, the only people that run the bottom of the straightaway are called lap cars. You don't run the bottom of the straightaway. Yep. You just don't do it. It never happens. So you're exactly right. You have to arc it out to set yourself up for entry. And I don't think that Moyer necessarily just saw an opening there. I think he just said, screw it, I'm going to dump him, because that looked intentional to me. Because he was behind him the lap before, I think maybe even 2 laps before he had gotten into second. And that's the line he was running. And he even had to hit the brakes for him a little bit the lap before. So he knew it was happening. It just happened the lap before. And this time here, he just drove square in the back of him and dumped him and raced basically over for both of them. It's like, I'm a big Billy Moyer guy. I consider him the GOAT. I think he's number 1. I think Bloomquist is number 2. That's the order that I put him in. And that right there is maybe, I'm like, Billy, what are you thinking? And people saying that he's blocking. Okay, first of all, you don't block with 22 laps to go. If it's 1 lane lockdown rubber, yes, you're going to block. You're going to do that. Okay. But it wasn't. There was a couple different lines there. You ain't blocking. That's just the groove he ran. So I don't know. I honestly haven't seen many dirt late model guys throw a block unless it's maybe a last lap deal or something like that. It's rare that you see somebody like throw a block 22 laps to go. And we're going to play this. I am going to put the video footage of this incident on here so that way fans take a look at it. Make your own decision, maybe even put in the thread what your thoughts are on this deal. Was he kind of using up the whole track? In my opinion, absolutely. But that's the line he was running, and Moyer drove right in the back of him and dumped him. So fans, we'll let you weigh in. Bert, is there anything you want to add on that?
Well, there may be some credence to your theory that he just dumped him because, what surprised me was if this was a mistake on Moyer's part, you don't see that happening with 22 laps to go. Have some patience. And chances are you're, like you said, Culp probably wasn't going to win that race anyway. Have some patience and you're going to eventually get around them.
He had patience when he was behind his kid who was looking like a fly swatter out there. So, I guess you can have patience with one, you got to have patience with the other. But needless to say, neither one of them won. Cade Dillard parked his MB Customs in Victory Lane. So hats off. He'd been struggling, Bertie. Whether that was a big World of Outlaw win or whatever, he needed a win. So it was a good little confidence booster for Dillard coming into, I guess, the heart of the World of Outlaw late model season. So then we head down to Cochran Speedway down in Cochran, Georgia. They ended up having a doubleheader down there. And I misspoke, actually. When I interviewed Bloomquist pit guy, he thought that Bloomer was on the front row of that deal. And I think he ended up starting like 3rd row. I don't think he started on the front row.
I noticed that because I started watching. It's like, why is Bloomer starting that far back? I thought he was on the front row.
I looked everywhere for it online. I couldn't find a lineup anywhere.
I think he could have started on the front row, and it wouldn't have mattered in his outcome.
But here's the deal: he passed Overton 3 times. Going the wrong way, right? So. And that's really what that race came down to. $20,000 to win. That was a makeup show from last fall. And that was on Friday. Saturday, of course, they had a $5,000 deal. And big, sexy Brandon Overton absolutely put the beat down on the boys in both of them. And I think it was 75 laps that first night? I think is what it was. It was a longer race.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think, and I believe Bloomer got lapped 3 times, and one of them there was a yellow.
At least twice.
Yeah, so he might have got one of them laps back, but it was like he was running a 604 crate against them.
Well,
did not look good.
Whether this is the case or not, I did watch the post race interviews from Saturday night's show because Bloomquist did rebound and finish 2nd in that feature, and actually it was running pretty much with Overton,
right?
But they interviewed Bloomquist after the race, and he said that they found an issue with one of the shocks on Friday night, and they had to, do some fixing on that. So whether that's the case or not, I don't know, but that's what he said.
I would say that, and I didn't see that interview, so you're probably spot on because it's not. Bloomquist has been lapped; they've all been lapped before, but not 3 times. Right. He was really slow, and then as good as he was, you're right. On Saturday, he was not on him, but he was
right. He was able.
5, 6 car. He was in striking distance. If something would have happened in lap traffic, he might have got to him. But he was comfortably in second. So it was like two different race cars. And I'm telling you, if you're off a little bit in the late model, you're off a lot. I mean, if you're off a little, you're off a lot. So it was actually good to see Bloomer flip that around and get a good solid run out of that on day 2.
Yeah.
Now,
before we move on, though, you're talking earlier about T-shirts and Bloomquist and souvenirs and stuff. And I don't know I've shared some of the stuff with you, but I don't know if Bloomquist is trying to make up merchandise, but he's racing a different graphic scheme almost every race in the month of March.
Yeah, well, I talked to Joe Bravo, and what he said is, talking to Bloomquist, he said that's the easiest way for him to get sponsors. So basically, he has a deal for his wraps, right? In aluminum. I think he's sponsored by, I think, Risco, but I'm not sure. So it doesn't take much for him to do that. So then he lines up a deal for a sponsor, whether it's for a weekend or for maybe a few weeks, and that sponsor money basically pays his whole way. So I'm sure as Bloomer, he's pretty crafty. He may capitalize, like you said, in more ways.
I'm sure.
Bert's going to have like that whole glass shelf. It's going to be all 2021 Scott Bloomquist. Okay. He's going to have a bunch of them. So yeah, I tell you, I would say, as far as apparel, merchandise, collectibles, Scott Bloomquist changed the game in dirt late model racing, and he really took it to a whole nother level. So, hats off to him. I think my best year I sold like 250 shirts, and he's probably, I guarantee you, not probably, I guarantee you, he's had nights where he sold way more than that. So, and that's just a testament to the career that he's had. So another race there, Bert. Well, let's get that. I'm going to skip this one. We'll come back to this one. But the Southern All-Stars were down at the Southern Raceway. They had a pair of shows down there. They had ran the week before. And the week before, it was almost a World of Outlaw Lucas show at Cherokee. Like, everybody was there. And they went down here, and there was a lot of other stuff going on. So it was mainly the guys following that deal. Kind of uneventful. G.R. Smith won on night number 1. Rusty Schlenk, night number 2. Did you watch any of that action, Bert?
I didn't get to see any of those races.
Yeah, not great. Kind of a sandy, not very racy. But here's an example where a announcer can make up for lack of entertaining racing, because it's dirt track racing, right? I don't care where you go. Cedar Lake's one of the best tracks in the Midwest. I've seen some amazing racing, and I've seen some absolute garbage racing there. It don't matter what track it is. It's dirt track. It's just the way it happens. But their announcer, it's Dwayne something. It's Dwayne. I know that. But he's just off the rails, man. He is just super exciting. I mean, you can tell he just got that passion in his voice, and he's got nicknames for everybody. And when something happens, I mean, he makes it exciting, so it actually makes it watchable. And so that's an example right there. And you can jump on Dirt on Dirt, I believe, has the replay of the features for both of these races. So if you're a subscriber to that, jump on, watch that, and just listen to that announcer. I mean, it's a little different style than we're used to up here in the Northland, Bert, but exciting. And for me, I appreciate an announcer that's got passion, right? Not somebody that's there just kind of reading off the sheet going, hey, here's the lineup. This dude's fired up. He loves what he does. He loves racing, and it's just great to see that. So I got to be honest, I want to get down there and meet this guy, because I think it'd be kind of fun maybe to get him on the show, because that dude gets fired up for sure. Now, another race that was kind of shitty, actually, was the Toilet Bowl. Kind of funny how that
I did watch that on Dirt on Dirt.
Full field of 11 late models for $5,000 to win. I don't know if Mother Nature played a part and some people just went other directions. I'm not sure what. But Tanner English got his first Toilet Bowl victory, $5,000 to win. And the track was actually not horrible. I mean, you could tell it was wet. They had some weather there. But anything stick out to you from, I guess that would have been Clarksville, Tennessee?
Actually, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the trophy that the winner gets. Did you see that?
The porcelain throne, baby. Yeah, they get an actual toilet bowl. That's what they get. And that's kind of neat, and I don't know why there were so few cars. I mean, it's been pretty well attended in years past. Maybe it was the weather. I'm not sure. There's
Yeah.
quite a bit of other stuff going on.
I know in the post-race interviews, Dennis Erb, they interviewed him. He finished second, and he thanked the track for getting the show in because of all the rain that they had. So it must not have just been a rain shower. They must have got quite a bit of rain down in that area.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing there. It's neat, right there. Hats off to them guys because it's fun. It's a fun deal. It's unique. I mean, I've never heard of the toilet bowl giving away a toilet for a trophy, right? But I mean, it's unique, right? As a racer, I've won a lot of races. I've been pretty fortunate in my day through the Wissota region, and a lot of the trophies look exactly the same, and not to discount one more than the other, it is what it is. But I always thought it was cool when I won somewhere and then I got a trophy that was totally different than all the other ones. And I think that's pretty cool when tracks do that kind of stuff. So if you're watching the show, run a racetrack, pay attention, come up with something cool.
And it was good to see Tanner English win. I mean, I didn't realize this before I watched his post-race interview, but apparently he's been going to that race since he was a kid because his dad raced. So he would, go to the race with his dad. And he said it was always his goal to win the toilet bowl. So in that regard, it was really cool for him.
Keep an eye on him, Bert. He looked pretty good down at Speedweeks. Yeah. Lucas Oil, of course, Rookie of the Year in 2020. And I was pretty impressed. He had some really good runs down there during Speedweeks. I'd be watching for him to park that baby in Victory Lane. I think he's going to maybe be one of them young guns that maybe, there's a young contingent during late model, super late model racing, and he's just another one of them that kind of watch for him. He's up on the wheel. He's fun to watch, and I'm expecting to see some big things out of him. So that's Tanner English there. Now, another race down in Kentucky, Florence Speedway. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Some of those cars may have been stripped after the race and put back on the jig.
Yeah, so Bert, why don't you just kind of talk about what you saw there? Good contingent of cars, right? I mean, I think they had Pierce and RTJ and Brian Shirley and Jimmy Owens and Turbo, and I mean, and there was more than that, but I mean, there was a good contingent. There was a quality group of race cars there. What stuck out to you?
Well, I mean, obviously the track conditions was the thing that stuck out. My understanding is this is an annual race that they have down in Florence, and this is one of the issues you run into when you run spring races. If you don't have time to get on the track early enough to prepare it properly, or if there's still frost in the ground, it can create some rough conditions. And I think rough is an understatement in what the track conditions were. I mean, more than once, more than 5 times, probably even more than 10 times, a car had all 4 wheels off the ground at one time. I mean, it was just complete. I mean, in 3 and 4, if you drove right through it, you were bouncing all over the place. I mean, there was actually a few times where where they were actually bicycling on 2 wheels. They'd hit the rut and kind of go up on their side and then come back down. And I read in an article that Jimmy Owens said it was like racing a motocross race.
Well, I mean, when he had the lead there, right, and RTJ caught him, and when he hit that hole, I mean, the car just started hopping. He had to have broke a shock or 2 or 3, or I'm not really sure, but he was like literally hopping down the back straightaway. It's like, oh my! And I was literally thinking about some of the people on Facebook, and we've had conversations about having a track with some grip and a little character versus a track that is smooth and dry. And as a racer, when I raced, I'm like, I want it black top to bottom, no marbles. I just want it clean and dry, and we can all race because it's easier on equipment. As a fan, I'm like, I don't really know. But I think Owens might have broke something. I didn't really see or hear if he did. Maybe lots of stuff. They probably all did. But Ricky Thornton Jr., who started up front, and he backed up to like fifth, and then he kind of worked his way back up there, and then he took home the win in that one. But let me ask you this, Bert. So you're a fan, from a fan's perspective. I'll speak on both sides of the equation here. But if you had to choose between a track that's rough, that's got character, that's cars are bouncing and hooking ruts and all that. Maybe that's a little bit more exciting versus a track that is kind of cleaned off and kind of gets one lane and not real aggressive racing. What would you rather actually watch?
As a pure fan, I'd rather watch the rough. I'd rather watch the race that's exciting. If that means it's a little rough, so be it. I don't necessarily. I have to speak a little bit from not just a straight fan though, because I was on a pit crew for 20 years, so I do know some of the, what a rough track can do to a car. I mean, as I was watching that race in Florence, I felt bad for the drivers. I really did. But I'm sitting there thinking, this is actually a fun race to watch, though. And compared to some of the races we've watched the last couple of weeks that were day races where it was everybody fight for the bottom, follow the car in front of you. From a fan perspective, rough and exciting is better.
Yeah, and I'm with you, right? So as a racer, I hate the rough. Now, if I'm on a little bull ring, like a quarter-mile deal or a little turn and burn deal, and depending on the type of clay, right? Because some tracks, the clay is really aggressive. So when there's holes, I mean, it just destroys stuff. I remember going up to Superior Gondikla Speedway back in the day when that place, in the 90s, it used to be really rough and you'd like rip the frame in half. I mean, it was horrible because that clay it just grabbed the car and just chew it up. But if you get on a track that's a little bit grittier, that maybe doesn't have that aggressiveness to it, then the chop's not quite as bad. I mean, it's still hard on the equipment, but you can deal with it. And sometimes you kind of, as a driver, you learn how to kind of get through the holes and navigate that and cross them over. And, you're staying on the gas through the holes and kind of coming across them. It really does take some technique. It's a different skill set than just trying to hold the traction in the car. As a driver, especially one that was on a budget, I want it clean, black, right, easy on equipment, not having to worry about wrecking shocks and ball joints and all kind of crankshafts and all kinds of stuff. Because I mean, that gets expensive. But as a fan, I want racing, right? I want to see multiple lanes of racing. I like when they're chucking sliders. I like when they're going fast. I love when they're diamonding and crossing over. And I had somebody ask me the other day, and I think it was on Facebook. They said, well, how come nobody ever talks about like multiple lane dry slick tracks? Because in late model, you don't get it most of the time. It's rare in a late model to have a dry track that has multiple lanes of racing. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's rare. In modifieds, you're exactly right. I mean, late models can go out there, be trained up on the dry slick, and the mods come out, they're dicing, slicing, they're all over the track, 3-4 lanes of racing. And we saw that down at the USMTS show last week at the RPM Speedway. It was black top to bottom. They're racing all over that thing. 5-way battle for the lead on a dry slick racetrack. Late models, they tend to not do that. And that's my issue is like, I want to watch a good late model race more often than not. You need a little grip, a little character, a little something. You think Fairbury. I love watching Fairbury, and I wouldn't say that place is the smoothest racetrack in the world. I've seen lots of chop in that track. But the fact is, it is dang exciting. And even the racers who hate racing on that, they all agree. I talked to Jody Delphi. He goes, I don't even know if I'd unload there, but I love watching there. And so it's a different perspective depending on where you are. But I think both of us, we'd agree that as long as there's 2-3 lanes of racing where they're actually like competing and side by side and battling for position, I don't care if it's dry, sticky, wet. I don't care what it is. I just want racing. I want exciting, and I want some action. And
exactly.
And,
I mean, I always find it funny that on Facebook every now and then there'll be people complaining, oh, track's always dry slick, or others will be complaining they put too much water on it. It's always too tacky. And for me, I don't care if it's too tacky or if it's dry slick. As long as you can race multiple grooves, that's all I want to see as a fan.
Well, I'm gonna go one step further, right? Because I'm gonna dissect this one step further on a local level, because this is more of a national level. So most of these guys are really talented. Most of them got big pocketbooks behind them. But on a local level, they don't have big pocketbooks, most of them, right? Most people are budget racers. And most people don't race 3-4 nights a week. They race one night a week, right? Maybe they'll hit a second track, but most people will run one night a week. Well, as a fan, right, the one thing that I hate is when it's predictable. And when track on a regular night, if it's slicked up top to bottom, and you got like 2 good heats of cars where you got 14 to 18 cars, not a huge field, a lot of times you can look at it and be like, this one's over. The track's black top to bottom. That person's going to win, right? Because they're so much better on the drive. You get a lot more grip, a lot more throttle control. When the track's got some grip in it and a little bit of character, it's softened anybody's game. I've seen people, at my local tracks that you get them on a top to bottom dry slick track, Bert, they're not competing. It just ain't going to happen. They're out to lunch. But you give them some traction, you give them some grip. Now they're in the conversation. Now the crowd's going, well, wait a second here. We got a few more people that are in this to maybe have a shot to win. So I think that's my appeal to it is, anytime that you have an event, and again, when you have a Lucas Oil event, there's 10 guys that are fast. I mean, you have that. But on a local level, you don't sometimes. So I like when the track evens out the playing field a little bit as a fan. And I think that's why, as a driver, I'm like, I want to drive dry slick because I want to eliminate some of these guys, right? But as a fan, I want it to be more evened out to where the racing's good, and you really aren't sure who's going to win.
Well, you always hear the saying that a dry slick track is more of a you always say everybody's fast on a tacky track, where if it's dry slick, it kind of weeds out. It's more of a finesse track, and the drivers that are a little bit more of a finesse driver do better on that type of a track.
I used to say that all the time. The cream rises to the top on the dry slick, right? The money's made on the dry slick, but if you want to fill them grandstands up, they don't want that 1 or 2 guys to be winning every race. They just don't, So that's a tough game, because I also don't believe in the affirmative action deal where we make the track that way so people can keep up, right? So maybe sharpen their pencil a little bit and get better on the dry. So there's that aspect of it too, So I mean, the people that are really good on the dry maybe have done their homework, put themselves in a position to be fast there. So that's kind of that opportunity there for everyone.
And I mean, in defense of the track in Florence, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't their intention for the track to be that rough. It's just, like I said before, it's just that's what happens when you have early spring races. I mean, how many tracks in Wisconsin, the first couple of weeks, they're a little bit rough because, the frost is still coming out of the ground, and, cold temperatures and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Now, there's a bunch of races coming up, so that's basically the weekend review. That's kind of what happened on around the country in the racing world.
Before we move on, though, I have one more thing to say. And I told you that I texted you this as I was watching races. It's kind of refreshing watching these races. The crowds are really good. There's no social distancing, and there's no masks either. So.
Maybe, well, yes, that is a good thing. Yes.
Maybe we, as long as things stay good, maybe we'll have somewhat of a normal summer.
Knock on wood, right? Well, Minnesota announced, I'll just say it right here. Going into last week when we were doing the show, it was a $250 per venue at racetracks in Minnesota, and over the last week they opened that up to 10,000. There's a couple restrictions, but they opened it up enough to where you're going to be able to get as many people at a racetrack as you want now. So I'm pretty excited about that. Might have to play the game a little bit, but I'd rather play the game than not have racing. So,
right.
So that's exciting for Minnesota. Now, this week, and we'll just start. You keep peeking your head over there. Anything exciting happening over there on the big half mile?
Well, we're recording this on Tuesday night. It's, I don't know what, like 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. And they're running the Sport Mod feature, the first Sport Mod feature, which was supposed to be run on Monday night. So they haven't even started Tuesday's program yet. Except I think they may have run some of the late models from Tuesday's program earlier. But
did they run all the heats earlier, or no? Is it?
I think just the late models. They still have the open mods and the stock car heats yet.
It's going to be a late night in Bristol, Tennessee, for sure.
And they're starting at 9 a.m. on Wednesday because of possible weather later in the day.
They may just race. It might be like the Boone Super Nationals, right? They might just race all the way through. Right?
Yeah,
This might be it.
I don't know if they have any curfews there or not.
So, well, let me ask you this. So first of all, I mean, I'm not exactly sure who's all down there from our neck of the woods. I don't think it's many from Wissota area. I know that Aaron Johnson, I interviewed him last year, at the end of last year. He's down there running a IMCA modified. They call it modified. It's not an IMCA sanctioned show. And then also Trevor Anderson, Dirt Track Supply over in Watertown. He's down there with his modified. So best of luck to them guys. Now, Bert, who are some? I mean, we'll talk about late models in just a minute here. But you got a lot of people from your area. Anybody stick out that you're like, I'm really keeping an eye on this guy, or is there somebody that maybe you expect some big things from down there?
Well, I'm keeping an eye on Justin Ritchie. Justin Ritchie's the Dirt Kings late model champion from last year. He's not racing his late model down there. He has his IMCA modified. He did make the qualifying feature for the first day's program, but I believe he was caught up in a wreck, so he didn't finish very well. Josh Long is down there. He's from Swamico, and he qualified for a qualifying feature, but he wasn't in the top 5. Wyatt Block, who's from my hometown, he's down there, but he ended up on top of another car at the end of the front stretch on one of the starts. So that wasn't a good start for him. Tyler Wilson's from Northeast Wisconsin. He actually won a heat and started on the pole in the first IMCA modified feature, and he was running in the top 5. I'm not quite sure where he finished at the end. But a driver from your neck of the woods had an impressive run. Mark Noble.
Oh, he did in the IMCA mod.
In the IMCA mod. He was up to 3rd at I don't know if that's where he finished, but he was up to 3rd, and he started like 17th or something like that in the qualifying feature. So they were saying that he raced in Bristol 20 years ago when they ran there. So
really,
yeah.
That guy has flat out won a ton of races, of course, from southern Minnesota down there. But one of the best ever to strap in from the state of Minnesota in a modified. So
yeah. So yeah, if you see me looking like this, I have Bristol on the TV as we're recording this. Right.
Well, Jeff shot me over, our late model expert. He shot me over and he said, he goes, yeah, they just kind of called out some people because there's people that it's $34 a month, right, for the subscription for Race XR. Not a big deal. Heck, you can even cancel it at the end of the month. You ain't got to pay the whole year. And there's people that are literally like they're viewing it and then they're going Facebook Live like that. And it's like, dude, come on, I mean, and I get it. I mean, everybody's kind of scrapping for money and all that. But I mean, they're trying to run a business there, So I mean, I help out Dirt Race Central. I don't want them doing it to ban, So I mean, it's probably not a cool thing to be, Facebook living it like that to let everybody watch it for free. It's they kind of called people out. They said, we know who you are. We can kind of track that. So I mean, if we have to, we'll file charges. And it's like,
I heard him call somebody out yesterday when I started watching it, and I thought, wow. And then they called somebody out again today, and then they made a comment that the person from yesterday, they've started legal action against them already. So they're not messing around.
No, I mean, it's theft really at the end of the day. I mean, they're trying, there's a lot of expense putting that deal together. So, I mean, and I get it. I mean, I've seen it before, people do it, but I mean, if you want that to last, I mean, think about this. I mean, we all enjoy the fact that we can sit home and watch racing online. And if too many people are doing that, these streaming platforms are going to say, screw it, why even do it? We're not even making any money. And I like having the ability to watch these races. So don't screw it up for us. All right. Don't do that. So now let's get in.
I mean, they're doing a great job with the coverage and everything. So I was curious to see how they're going to pull all this off. But so far, I mean, it's been pretty smooth. And I mean, it's cool how they stage the cars in the infield, and it's really a cool deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces to it for sure, and it's coming together for them. Now let's talk late models, Bert, because there's a lot of classes. You got mods, right? Steve Arpin's going to be running. I guess I still consider him a Wasota guy. He's going to be running in the open mods later, so we'll be pulling for the 00A from Canada. But they got so many classes. But at the end of the day, $50,000 to win the Bristol Dirt Nationals this coming Saturday night. A big field of late models there. Huge field of late models. Bert, who's your pick?
I'm going to go with Superman.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Bert, you can't be doing that. I don't know if you can see this, but you see my pick right there?
Oh, Jonathan Davenport.
You're killing me. You're killing me. Well, there you have it. The one to go show. Ryan and Bert both have, isn't that crazy? Superman, Jonathan Davenport. So I'm writing that down. So you got JD. I got JD. Now, our late model expert, he's really going out on a limb on this one. He says, I'm picking Kyle Strickler to win. Now, that's a good pick. Strickler's been fast. He's really good on half miles. Really good. Volusia was like his home away from home. Very good at Volusia. Big half mile. Good pick. But then he says, I'm going to go with the Kyle show. He goes, because I think Strickler is going to edge out Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch is going to get third. I'm like, you're kind of an overachiever with this pick deal here. But so Jeff actually said that's his prediction right there. Kyle Strickler, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch. And we all know Kyle Larson has been pretty good on the half miles in the late model too. And that is Keith's pick. There might be a little man crush going on there. I'm not sure. But, that's something maybe his wife's going to have to talk to him a little bit. But he's got Kyle Larson and Keith. I don't even know if this guy's going to be there or not. Is Brandon Shepard on the schedule to be there for this one or just the World of Outlaws show?
That I don't know.
So he took B-Shep. I'm not sure if he's going to be there or not, but if he is, that's who he has. Now, we've seen some wrecks already. I haven't watched a ton of it. I watched a few. There was a 602 that turned upside down. They got like 400 horse in it and about ripped the car in half. These guys got like 900 horse.
Another one of those crates rolled later in the program too.
He did.
And the thing is, when you wreck at, what I'm realizing, when you wreck at Bristol, if you hit the wall, I'm not sure if that car is going to be recoverable or not.
Yeah, no, that place is wicked fast there. So there's Troy Powers posted. He said there's no small wrecks here. I mean, and that's what it was like when I was racing Hibbing and Proctor and Rapids. You go to Superior, I thought that place was big. And you take Superior and like put it in the infield at Bristol. So if you wrecked hard at Superior, you really wreck hard at Bristol. So I hope everybody stays safe. I hope the weather cooperates. We can get some racing in. So we have some pretty cool stuff to talk about here coming up this week. Now, also, there's some Lucas Oil stuff going on. And I had my fingers crossed because the first thing I saw is there's been a change of schedule for the Lucas Oil. I'm like, yes, they're actually moving weekends. Nope, they just moved the Friday show to Sunday because of weather coming in. So I had my hopes up, but it didn't quite happen. But Saturday, they're going to be over at Brownstown and Sunday at Atomic. And so kind of getting the Lucas Oil thing back underway here this spring. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm throwing it out there. I got Jimmy Owens to double up. He kind of looked pretty good the last couple times he's been on the racetrack. And I'm picking the 20 ride to get to the front. Who do you have for each of them shows?
I'm going to take Devin Moran for Brownstown and T-Mac for Atomic.
Okay. And our late model expert, Jeff, went the opposite of you. He has T-Mac for Brownstown and he has Moran for Atomic. So you guys are kind of on the same page there. Maybe you're the late model whisperers or whatever. Pete,
we'll see after the results.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll talk about our last week's pick in a little bit. Pete, he's going with Jimmy Owens on night 1 and on night 2, and I don't know if he's going to be there or not. He's got Bobby Pierce winning night 2, so I don't know if Pierce is running that or if he's going to Bristol. I think. Do you know if he's in Bristol?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's who he has there. And then Keith is on the turbo train. He likes that intensity of Tyler Erb, which is not a bad pick. So he's got Turbo to win. So both of those races, of course, are going to be on MAV, so you can catch the action there. Now, and of course, Bristol's on Race XR. Now we got the World of Outlaw sprint cars coming up, right? So we got a doubleheader down there, both of them at the Cotton Bowl Speedway. So it's a pair of shows. I like them kind of shows as a racer. You get there, you race one night, you spend the night. You don't have to put everything away. You can race the next night. You can take what you learned night one, get a little faster on night two. That's kind of the goal. So they're down at the Cotton Bowl. Go ahead, Bert. Who do you got picked to win the two World of Outlaw sprint car nights?
The first night, I am going to go with Donnie Schatz.
Donnie Schatz looking for win number 300. Now, what's interesting, fans, is Donnie Schatz has been at 299 now since last basically the end of the season. And he had number 300, literally like it was there, like a couple laps away. MSD box shit out on him, and that was it. And it's like, I think by now, 6 races in, he's probably like, I just want to get this stupid win done. I want to get this done so I can just focus because, maybe he's kind of got them people asking him, are you going to get number 300? I don't know, but when you get close to the milestones, if you know about them, it's nice to just get them out of the way so you can focus. So, yeah, so you got Donnie Schatz on Friday, and who do you got on Saturday?
I will take Schuchart.
Logan Schuchart, who is the World of Outlaw sprint car point leader as we speak. And, of course, Brandon Overton is a guy that none of us picked for Lucas. And isn't he the point leader, Brandon Overton, for the Lucas Oil?
Yes.
How do we not pick Brandon Overton when he's got 6 wins already this year and nobody else does?
Because he doesn't commit to it.
That could be it. I think I'm going to guess that he's going to be there. And honestly, when we were talking about that, it kind of slipped my mind. It's like, wait a second here. Why did we not pick Overton? Well, I'm going to stick with Jimmy Owens.
If he wasn't going to be at the Lucas show, you'd think he'd be at Bristol.
Yeah. So that tells you right there that Big Sexy's going to be there. So none of us picked him. So that just tells you what kind of experts we are. None of us apparently have a clue. So you picked. You got Donnie Schatz and Schuchart. Jeff has Sam Haferteeth Jr. on night 1 and Donnie Schatz getting win number 300 on night 2. Pete has Carson Macedo, who's been looking really good on night 1, and he's got Logan Schuchart on night 2. Our sprint car guy, Keith, he has David Gravel on night 1 and Sheldon Hodenschild on night 2. And I am going to go ahead and I am going to take Brad Sweet. I'm going to take the big cat. He came up just a little bit short in the last one, and he's going to park that 40. That's a sweet-looking car, Bert. I love that 49, right? That blue and white and yellow. I just love the look of that thing. And, in fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the Lucas deal. I'm picking him to double up. So I got Brad Sweet to double up here this weekend. Both of these races on Dirt Vision. I'm excited for it. Johnny Gibson on the mic. I think it's Johnny Gibson, ain't it? On the mic. He's a heck of an announcer there. Super exciting. Keith was kind of whining, Bert. I'm going to pick on him a little bit here. Can I pick on Keith just a little bit? Sure. He's whining. He's like, why do they got to do the 4 wide and all this hoopla and all that? And I'm like, what? That is the World of Outlaw. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, I guess I fast forward it through that. I don't have to watch all that, which you're right. And we kind of laughed a little bit because, quite honestly, I mean, we've been race fans and racers, and we've been involved for a long time. But, I saw an article on Dirt on Dirt in regards to the late model side of things, and I think Ben Shelton said it. He says, there's a lot of people that literally they go to one big show a year. Like they go to some weekly racing, and then they save their money up. They go to one, like the World of Outlaws come to town. They go there one time. That's the only time they see them. So they want to put on that, I guess, spectacle every single time because that is the show. It'd be like going to the circus and not having the opening act. Like, well, we do the circus every week. We're going to kind of skip this part. You don't do that, right? I mean, so part of the allure to the World of Outlaws is all the extra stuff that they do. And as a fan, like me, I'm like, I don't know, sometimes I'd rather watch that than the race. That stuff just gets me jazzed up, almost like and it's just once a year at Cedar Lake with the USA Nationals, their introductions there. That just gets me fired up. So And Keith is like, yeah, you're right. I mean, they got to do it, but that's the nice thing, right? If you're watching online, right? If you're either watching live or watching a replay, you can choose, and you can only watch the parts that you want to watch. You don't have to watch that part. So there you go, Keith. You don't have to watch that part. All right. So let's get it. And also sprint cars this weekend. The All-Star sprints are back in action. They're going to be down the Friday and Saturday. This is going to be on Flow Racing. They're going to be down in Mesquite, Texas at the Devil's Bowl down there. So they're going to be back. And I don't know if there's anybody that's running the World of Outlaws right now that, is going to transition over there. I know Reitzel ran with the All-Stars, but now he's a rookie with the World of Outlaws. So I don't know if that'll affect any car counts, but if you're a sprint car guy, you got 2 full shows of sprint cars on Friday and 2 full shows of sprint cars on Saturday. Plus, there's some local stuff on there as well. And the Comp Cam Lates, that's another one we didn't really talk about. That was the one, I guess, at Boot Hill last week, the Comp Cam deal. And they're going to be at I-30. I think that's in Arkansas. I think that's by Little Rock, Arkansas. That is Saturday night. That's going to be on Flow as well. So plenty of racing action, whether it's Bristol, the Lucas Oil late models, the World of Outlaws sprints, some other regional late models. There's enough stuff going on here. And we're just literally, I can taste it. We're just weeks away. We're like right there from racing in our area. And I'm excited. I mean, I love watching the national series, right? But I like watching our guys and gals from our area, so I'm super fired up for that. And what's the first track in your area over there that opens up?
Shawano and 141 are usually the first. I know Shawano is mid-April. It's like the 16th or something, whatever that Saturday is around that time. And that's a Dirt Kings race. So I mean, they're starting with a big late model show to start with. So
they're going big right out of the gate. That'll be interesting because there's no, I think maybe Cedar Lake runs maybe, but I don't know if they have late models that night. But it'll be interesting to see if they pull some cars maybe from Western Wisconsin over there for that Dirt King stuff. I sure hope so.
I would love to see it. So
yeah. So have you talked to Anvilink? Is he going to follow that series? Have you heard anything?
I have not talked to him, but I don't know if he's following that series or not.
We'll have to check in with them because as a fan, I love following them point chases. But it'll be interesting. Any picks since we had Dirt Kings on the Mayan? Is there somebody that you're like, this is a guy that's going to win it all this year?
Well, I mean, if Nick follows it, I would pick Nick. But if Nick doesn't follow it, I mean, it's really a handful of drivers. I mean, even if Nick does follow it, I mean, other drivers are capable of winning it. But I mean, Nick's won it every year that he's followed it. So my saying is, until somebody dethrones the champion, you have to go with the champion.
right. And that's nothing against Justin Ritchie, who won it
right,
last
exactly.
year, of course. Is Mike Mullen, is he going to try to follow that deal this year? I know he ran some shows too.
He usually runs a limited late model schedule, so I don't know if he'll follow that entire series. I would love to see him follow that entire series, because I think he definitely has the talent to contend for the title if he were to follow the entire series.
Yeah, he's fun to watch, and they got a pile of cars there in that building there, so they got a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, a driver I would watch too is Ron Berna. He has a Longhorn chassis he got from McCready. Actually, he bought the car and still had McCready's tin on it.
Okay.
So that was kind of he took a picture of the car he bought, and it's number 39, Tim McCready's stuff all over it.
and he's a perennial powerhouse there. He's ran very well for a long time. So a lot of great drivers in that area. I really like that series. I really hope that more people kind of continue to follow that because, I mean, they're all really good paying shows. It's kind of a limited deal where you're not running 500 shows, so it's good for dirt late model racing. And I really hope they stream those races, Bert, so I can watch more of them from where I'm at. That would be cool. So I might have to talk to the series promoter there a little bit to see if we can make that happen. But let's get into the last lap. in the last lot talking about late models, talking about late model drivers. Did you see the news on Mike Marlar? I got this from Jeff, but I'll let you share because I know you saw it too.
I didn't read the story. I just saw the headline. He's going to be racing 2 different NASCAR divisions or something like that.
Yeah, trucks and Cup at Bristol.
Cup too. Okay.
Yeah. So he ran trucks already, right? Did he run it?
Eldora.
Eldora, yeah, and he ran pretty good. From what Jeff was telling me, I think he got like 4th or something like that. Like he ran well.
He did run very well. I remember when he ran it, there's a little bit of controversy because he has a oil sponsorship or something, which is a rival of a NASCAR sponsor. So he had to like cover up the sponsor, if I remember correctly.
I remember hearing that. That's right, which is stupid, right? I mean, that's a terrible rule right there on NASCAR's part. Hopefully they don't make people do that. I'm sure that's kind of the corporate way for NASCAR. But let me ask you this, so he's coming in, we're about a week and a half out from that deal. The truck race, the Cup race, a lot of these, there are several Cup drivers that have experience on dirt. Several of them are racing this week in various classes. How do you think Mike Marlar is going to fare? Do you think he's going to get a top 10 in the Cup race? Do you think that's possible?
In the Cup race, I would say it's more possible. It's more likely in the truck series. I mean, anything's possible. Cup is a whole different animal. What team is he racing for?
I don't remember. Let me take a look, see if I can find it. Yeah, I don't have it right here in front of me. I know Jeff sent it to me.
I mean, I guess, anything's possible because this is so new for a lot of the Cup drivers. Some of the Cup drivers have never raced on dirt.
He's going to drive the 66 car. And it says Motorsports Business Management, the MBM Motorsports team. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with that. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that at all. Okay. But for Carl Long. Have you heard that name?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Carl Long?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Actually, for Carl Long, that makes sense because that's one of the low budget teams in NASCAR. So, put somebody in the car that has some dirt experience and see what happens.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, Burton. This is a great equalizer, right? They're jumping on dirt. This ain't no paved race. It's a little bull ring. He's a bull ring guy. As far as NASCAR goes, it ain't a bull ring as far as dirt goes. But as far as NASCAR, I think as long as he stays out of trouble, I can see him getting a top 10 in that deal. I really can because, racing on that dirt stuff, even if it dries out and takes rubber and all that, it's a totally different animal than racing on a paved track. So, because he ran good in that truck deal, I'm just gonna go out there and say Marlar top 10.
Yeah, and it's not like he's the only driver who did that. Bobby Pierce raced a truck a few years ago, and he may not have finished in the top 5, but he was challenging for the lead at one point, but he was scraping the wall every time. So I can't remember exactly where he was in the final rundown, but he challenged for the lead.
Yeah, Strickler ran well too. He was kind of battling up in there in the top 10. So it'll be interesting to see, so they got some, I guess, cool things happening down at Bristol with a lot of dirt races. And, there's a lot of series. We talked about the Dirt King series, and we're going to post these schedules. We're going to be able to go to the One to Go show, and I'm going to post all the schedules on there. But, another series got announced. Like last year in the Wissota area, they announced the Steffa Street Stock Tour. Scott Vince, they call him the Redheaded Rebel. He actually owns RWR Swag, sponsors a lot of race teams, runs a Midwest Mod. He's actually down in Bristol. I know he got 3rd in his heat. I don't know how he did in the preliminary feature, but he actually announced the Rebel Midwest Mod Series. I don't have the full schedule in front of me. I think it's 7-8 shows. I think they're all going to be 1,000 to win. So kind of a nice little series for Wissota Midwest Modifieds. So hats off to Scott for all he does for dirt track racing. Excited about that.
I do have some news from Eastern Wisconsin too. 141 Speedway, every year they have I believe it's called the King of the Creek, 5,000 to win IMCA stock car show. That is going to be 10,000 to win this year.
Okay, so they're stepping up. See, I suppose they kind of looked at it and they said they're doing 10,000 to win, a couple of them in Minnesota, just like everything else in life, right? The Wisconsin's got to try to keep up with Minnesota. It's just the way it is. So congratulations, Minnesota leading the way on that one. Wisconsin following yet again. So more money on the line for those guys. And as a racer, that's exciting. Now, another thing that, I talked about it briefly, and we got Outlaw Graphics and BuyRaceShirts.com. They came on as a sponsor, and they're really going to be the primary sponsor to the new show we have airing starting in the beginning of April. We're going to continue this show. This is our primary, but we're going to be covering the power rankings for the regional late models like we did last year, with Soda Modifieds, with Soda Super Stocks, with Soda Midwest Mods, and with Soda Street Stocks. And that's coming together and kind of working on a top 10 right now. I've been kind of messaging a few people, and I know some feathers are going to get ruffled because there's going to be some people left out of the initial top 10. And that's just the fun part. So if you don't like that you didn't make the top 10, it's all Bert's fault. Bert Lehman, Lehman. Just blast him on Facebook if you don't like where you end up on there. I'm putting it all on him. So excited about that. But let's get into last week's picks. We talked about some picks for this week, right? We already kind of talked about who we picked. And last week, looking at Pete got Brandon Overton right. So he got 1 out of the 4 or whatever. I got Overton right as far as down at the Gobbler. I just can't get it right in the sprint car deal. I just can't. Keith, he texted me. He goes, I picked Schuhart for the wrong night. All right. Sorry, buddy. Like, you can't say, well, I took Schuhart and Macedo, and then like
I get a half a point. I get a half a point.
You're gonna give him all right. So I was gonna say we can go that road, but no. And we got another controversial one here too, right? So Jeff actually got David Gravel right. He got that one right, and he got Overton right. But then he picked Shannon Babb to win at Florence. Well, I'm the kind of the king of picking people that aren't there. Like, I'm good at that. And he texted me, and he in the group text he put no Babb, I'm taking RTJ. Well, sorry, that one don't count. It just is what it is. You can't, I did not get to pick a new driver, right, after the fact. I just did not. And Bert, I am sorry. I know you picked Bloomquist to win at the Gobbler.
No, I didn't. I picked Bloomquist 2 weeks ago, and after that race, I told myself it'll be a while before I pick him again.
Did you take Overton too? I think
so. I had to.
I think we all took Overton. I was like, I'll give you Bloomquist. Do you remember who you picked for the sprint cars, and do you remember who you picked for Florence?
I think I took Sweet the second night. Oh, and I took Messino.
Yeah, you took Messino one of them. Yeah, and then do you remember who you took at Florence? Did you pick anybody for Florence?
It wasn't RTJ.
Yeah, I know I took Pierce, and somebody took Shirley, and it wasn't RTJ for you. So Pete got 1, I got 1, you got 1. Keith, sorry, man. That many for Keith. And Jeff got 2. So Jeff is our winner from last week. So I'm sure he won't be bragging about that whatsoever. But I kind of got a little bit of a running tally. I don't have it in front of me. Once we get a few more weeks in, we'll start kind of keeping tabs on where we're all at on here, and we'll have a little fun with that. We'll have to have a little contest or something. So excited. Bristol's still on. Bert, you're just gonna have to skip work tomorrow if you wanna stay up and catch all the action live from the Bristol Dirt Nationals. I guess what sticks out to you? A lot of racing coming up. What are you most excited for this upcoming week?
Well, I mean, I'm most excited for watching the rest of Bristol this week. The most exciting thing I'm looking forward to at Bristol right now actually is watching the IMCA stock cars, because that's where I think the Eastern Wisconsin drivers have the best chance of having top finishes. because it's just a tough division in Eastern Wisconsin, and I think they match up well against drivers from across the country. I do find it interesting. Bristol, I'm still trying to gauge how racy it is. I mean, there is passing, but it looks like it's tough to pass. I think most of the passing is going to be done on the straights entering the corners. I don't think anybody's going to be passing on the outside in the corners. So
yeah, it's a big half mile. I mean, we'll see. I mean, when they get more power behind the rear wheels and kind of blow that track up to the wall, if it can clean off somehow, maybe it'll be interesting to see. I'm actually most excited for the Lucas Oil races coming up this weekend. Get them back. Them have been so good, and them young guns between Devin Moran, Hudson O'Neill, Ricky Thornton Jr., Tanner English, just to name a few, to see if Jimmy Owens can finally get in victory lane here with that 20. Brandon Overton, another. I mean, obviously he's been a stud. So I'm super excited to watch him Lucas races, and I am. I guess Keith is going to be all smiles. I just dogged him a little bit, but it's hard not to be excited about that World of Outlaw sprint car race too. That's been pretty good.
One thing that's cool about Bristol is they're working up the track on a regular basis. They actually have 3 of those contraptions hooked to the tractors that dig up the track a little bit. And I should probably know the official name of them, but I don't know what it's called. But, I mean, they're using the time because they stage a bunch of races in the infield, and then the races after that stage outside. So then they have to cross the cars from one side to the other and bring the other. So they use that time to work up the track. So, I mean, they're actually pretty efficient in how they're doing things. So, I'm looking forward to watching that.
Well, hopefully Mother Nature can cooperate. Last thing we didn't touch on here, and we're going to probably we are doing another show, but just to give people a little leadway on it. I know that Ben Shelton and the boys from Dirt on Dirt put together the Flow Racing Night in America series. And the first one of those is next Thursday, the 25th, down at the 411. We talked about that track kind of being one of those kind of fun tracks to watch at. 20 grand to win on a Thursday. So I'm expecting to see a hell of a field of cars because they got a pretty nice little purse at the end of the year payout for the point fund and stuff. So that's about a little over a week out from where we are right now. So don't forget about that one as well.
And one of the races I watched this last weekend, Ashton Winger was racing there, and I saw an interview with him. He plans on following that series.
Yeah, that's good. They talked about quite a fefew people that were gonna, so it'll be exciting to see how that all works out. And any closing thoughts there, Bert? Jeff got one up on us. He did. It sucks. I hate when that happens, but that's not gonna last long. I tell you, we're gonna overcome him. But any last thoughts here on episode number 71A?
I'm actually going to close out the show with a little bit of asphalt news. I have to say congratulations to Ty Majeski, who's originally from Seymour, Wisconsin. He won the Rattler 250 this last weekend in Alabama, and he's the first 4-time winner of that event. He wins pretty much any super late model race he enters. I just wish he could get a quality NASCAR ride to see what his talents could do in the NASCAR world.
Yeah, and you added the word quality because he might be able to get a NASCAR ride, but let's see what he can do in good equipment. Get him in a good ride. Get him with a good ride. And it'd be great to see. I mean, we already saw the damage. A Wisconsin guy, Upper Midwest. I mean, Ken Seth, former champion from the Upper Midwest there. So it'd be nice to get another guy from the Upper Midwest at the top level of asphalt racing. So with that said, I tell you what, I always enjoy talking racing. Fans, I hope you enjoyed the little bit of time you got to spend with Bert and I. We're excited. We got racing coming up. I mean, it is nonstop, and we're full throttle, green flag all the way ahead now to the end of the year. I guess our region is just right there on the cusp of things starting up. So just keep an eye on us. We got some exciting things happening. I'm Ryan. That is the Bert Lehman. And as Puka always says, go out there and be your dream. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.